Hey, it's Breezy, and we're back with Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, and today we've got a Fluffal deck, which is pretty fun to play. Revolves around fusioning out some nice and fluffy animals with blades to cause some pretty big monsters that look pretty hideous down in the extra deck. But this is a very fun deck to play, which just pushes out these fusion monsters, which are pretty... kind of hard to beat. They got very good negation, or they can't be targeted pretty much. But first off, we'll be doing a deck breakdown, and then we'll be doing a PvP tool. So our first card we're highlighting today is Edge Imp Chain, which in my opinion, his card art makes him look like a motor instead of a chain. But when this card declares an attack, add an Edge Imp Chain from your deck to hand, and if this card is sent to the grave, add a Frightfur from your deck to your hand. That's pretty good at adding stuff to your hand. Next is Edge Imp Sabers. If this card's in your grave, place a card from the top of your deck, or from your hand to the top of the deck, and then special summon it back. Which is pretty good, because you need an Edge Imp card and a Fluffal card to make any of your extra deck fusion monsters. Next is Edge Imp Saw. When this card is normal summoned, send a Fluffal monster from your hand to the grave and draw 2. And then place a card from the top of the hand or place a card from your hand to either the top or the bottom. Good way to clear out bad cards out of your hand, send them to the bottom. Here's our first Fluffal monster, Fluffal Bear. When this card is sent to the grave, set a toy vendor directly from the deck to the spell and trap. And you can tribute this card as another ability to target a polymerization in your grave, add it to hand. Next is Fluffal Cat. If this card gets used as fusion material, grab a polymerization out of your grave. 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. When this card is normal or special summoned, add an Edge Imp Saber or a Fluffal monster from deck to hand. Good way to search out monsters. Fluffal Owl. When this card's normal or special summoned, add a polymerization from your deck. And it has another ability of, you can pay 500 life points, just fusion summon a Frightfur monster from your extra deck using your hand or field. So if you're out of polymerizations out of your deck, you can still fusion summon with Fluffal Owl for 500 life points. 3 copies of Fluffal Penguin, which his ability is you get to special summon a Fluffal monster from your hand once per turn. And then this card's sent as a fusion material. Draw 2 and discard 1. Alright. 3 copies of Fluffal Wing. Now you might be asking why. It only has 100 attack, 100 defense, but the monsters in the extra deck really aren't too specific. So you want this card in your grave, that's why it's here. And when this card's in your grave, you can banish a toy vendor you control. And then it's a lot of drawing power. Target a Fluffal monster in your grave, banish it, draw a card. You can send toy vendor from your spell and trap to the grave, draw another card if you want to. That second part isn't required if you do the first part. And lastly, monster Edge Imp Cotton Picker, which if this card is special summoned, inflict 200 damage for each Frightfur monster in your grave. And then it has a pendulum effect, which we don't really care about. All fusion monsters gain 300 attack. Once per turn, if a fusion monster is fusion summoned to your field, draw a card. You can just either special summon this out and deal burn damage to your opponent, or you just stick it down in the pendulum area, get an attack boost, and it's more draw power for every time you fusion summon. Next is 2 Foolish Burial Goods, which sends a spell and trap from your deck to the grave. You want to be sending your toy vendor. That's about the only good spell or trap that has an effect in the grave. Here's Frightfur Fusion, the actual fusion card in this deck. We're only running one of it though, because as you saw in the monsters, most of the cards require their effects are for polymerization, not for Frightfur Fusion. But it's still a good polymerization card because you can use graveyard monsters instead. Next is Frightfur Patchwork, which we have 3 of. Add an edge imp monster and a polymerization from your deck to your hand. Good way to easily get fusions out. Got Fusion Recycling Plant. Once per turn, discard a card, add a polymerization from hand, deck or grave. And then once per turn in the end phase, target a monster in the grave that was used for fusion material and add it back to your hand. So it does recycle. You can keep sending that card to the grave next turn and you'll get it back in the end phase. Pre-polymerization, your fusion summoning spell. 1 Suture Rebirth, which targets a Fluffal or Frightfur monster in grave and special summons and negates abilities. So a good card. Toy Vendor, which you saw a lot of in the text of cards. Once per turn, discard a card, draw a card, and show it. If it's a Fluffal monster, special summon it from your hand. Otherwise, discard it. This card is sent to the grave. You get to add it, Edge Imp, Saber, or Fluffal monster. So it's more searching. And then we have a counter trap here. When an opponent's spell or trap card or monster effect activate that targets a Frightfur monster, negate it. And if you do, destroy that card. And send the targeted monster to the grave. And if you do, special summon a level 8 or higher Frightfur monster from your deck. During the next end phase, banish the special summon monster. I didn't know about that second part. But the first part's pretty good because we have some pretty high level monsters in our extra deck. And the last card, you can take out, put out whatever trap you want, whatever card you want. This is just my favorite trap. I think it's the best trap in the battle phase. When your opponent monster declares an attack, flip all your opponent's attack monsters down in face down position. Our first card in our extra deck is Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare, which is like the big boss of this deck. But it's not even required to win duels because the rest of the extra deck is just that good. But it gains 300 attack for each fairy and fiend monster in your grave. All the Fluffals are fairies, all the fiends are Edge Imp Sabers. But that only gets that attack boost during your turn. You gotta look out for that. And this card has an effect where if your opponent targets this card, you can banish a Frightfur from your extra deck. Negate that targeting. And next up is Frightfur Bear, the OG Frightfur monster. I had to include him in this deck. 2200 attack, requires an Edge Imp Saber and Fluffal Bear. This is one of the only monsters that actually require a specific card. But when this card destroys an opponent's monster and sends it to the grave, equip that monster to this card and you gain 1000 attack for that. So it's a good way to boost it up and up. And 3200 attack after one battle phase is pretty good. Frightfur Chimera, which requires 3 Frightfur monsters, which is a little high, because the only ones that are Frightfurs are your extra deck ones. This basically can only be fusion summoned using the Frightfur Fusion monster spell card, because you'd have to have 3 Frightfurs in your grave already. But must be fusion summoned, can't be special summoned any other way. Yada yada. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate anything till the end of the damage step, or destroys a monster, sends it to the grave, special summon that monster to your field and half its attack. You only use this effect once, and this card gains 300 attack for each monster you controlled that is of your opponent. You kind of steal your opponent's monsters and kind of use them against you. I'm not a huge fan of this card, but it's included. Frightfur Daredevil, I like this guy a lot too. It's 3000 attack, it has an Edge Imp Saber and a Fluffal monster. Like I said, these monsters aren't very specific for what they need. But when this card destroys a card by battle, or an opponent's monster by battle, deals 1000 damage to him right away. And if this card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field, you inflict 500 for each Frightfur in your grave So it's a very good way to burn your opponent. Plus, it has 3000 attack on top of it. This one's probably my favorite in the extra deck to go along with Daredevil. Frightfur Craken. It is Edge Imp, Saber Monster, and Fluffal Monster. Not very specific. Also level 8 to go along with, I don't know, there was a card that required a level 8 monster. Frightfur March. Like, a lot of these are level 8. So it works with them. Once per turn, you can target a monster your opponent controls, send it to the grave. This card can attack directly, that effect is activated, but it can still attack like an enemy monster or something. And this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, and it gets even better because once per turn at the end of the battle phase, flip it to defense position. It's got 3000 defense. Very good. You can destroy a monster, you can still attack enemy monsters twice, and then it goes into defense position at the end of the turn. And next up is Frightfur Leo, which requires Edge Imp Saw, which we are playing one copy of, and a Fluffal monster. Must be fusion summoned. Can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Another good way to burn your opponent. And this card cannot attack your opponent directly if you use this effect. So the same effect as Kraken. Next up is Frightfur Sabertooth. This requires a Frightfur fusion monster and a Fluffal or Edge Imp. Now, I believe this card gets better effects if you use even more than just 2 monsters to fusion summon with it. But it does require one of your cards from the extra deck to fusion summon with. You gotta look out for that. When this card's fusion summoned, target a Frightfur monster in your grave, special summon it. All Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack, and if this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more material, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. So it's basically a 2800 attack monster. It can't be destroyed, and it's very, very good if you use 3 materials. Next up, Frightfur Sheep, which requires Edge Imp Chain and a Fluffal monster. This card battles your opponent, can't activate card or effects until the end of the damage step, and if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, or this card is destroyed by your opponent's card, sent to the grave, special summon it back out, and it gains 800 attack. It only uses once per turn. So it keeps coming back and coming back if it's destroyed, and it gets a nice 800 attack boost every time. We're getting toward the end, but we got Frightfur Tiger next. Edge Imp Saber and a Fluffal monster. If this card's fusion summoned, target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used and destroy cards. All Frightfur monsters get a 300 attack boost, and you can only control one Frightfur Tiger at a time. Last fusion monster here, Frightfur Wolf, requires Edge Imp Saber and a Fluffal. Must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, yada yada. This card can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials. It doesn't have the highest attack point, but if you use like a lot of fusion materials for this guy, he can pretty much destroy. Like if they have an empty board and you empty your hand full of monsters, say you got 5 monsters in your hand, which is a high possibility with this deck. It really fills your hand with recursion. You just dump all 5 of them, get 5 attacks, and blow through your opponent. Next we have Bahamut Arc, which is an Xyz monster, which requires 2 level 4 water monsters, which basically is your penguins, but you can attach a material from this card, special summon a rank 3 or lower monster from your extra deck, which is how we get out. Totally awesome. Once per turn during your standby phase, detach a Xyz material, special summon a frog monster from deck. That's not why we have it. Once per turn during either's turn, When your opponent activates a spell or trap or monster effect, send an aqua monster from your hand or face up on the field and negate it. You do destroy that card and you can set it to your field. If this card is sent to the grave, target a water monster in grave, add it to hand. So it's a good way to get back another penguin. But it also has negation and a whole bunch of stuff. Side deck for my failed experiments are just good cards you could throw in here. Fluffal, which is 1600 already, plus it gains 500 at the end of the battle phase. Or it gains 500 in the battle phase. Fluffal Angel, which is the other end of your pendulum scale. You want that. Again, this isn't a pendulum deck, so it's kind of hard to fusion these or pendulum summon in this deck. But it is very good at like fusioning, has pretty good fusion abilities. Tribute this card, target a Frightfur fusion in your grave, discard a card, and special summon that Frightfur from your grave, and its pendulum effect. Target a Fluffal or Edge Imp in your grave, special summon it. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. So it's a good way to get more recursion and fusioning. Designer Frightfur, I thought about playing. Target one Edge Imp or Fluffal in your grave, special summon it, and it can be treated as a Frightfur monster for a fusion summon. That's a good way to get out something like a Frightfur Sabertooth, which requires a Frightfur monster. And then Cross Sheep was originally in this deck, but I took it out for Frightfur Bear. But let's hop into a PvP duel and teach some people about some Fluffals. Alright, I tried doing PvP for an hour, and I was going against a dude who literally decked himself out. So that was fun. So you won't see that because it's literally about an hour long game. But we'll be doing Duelist challenges because I need to get this video done before I got stuff to do today. I got places to be. So let's show it off using let's take on Sora. We'll see how this goes. It'd be more, I'd be better able to show off the deck in this than in PvP. But we'll see how this goes here. Terrible starting hand. We can activate Foolish Burial Grounds here. And we'll send a Toy Vendor. Accidentally almost selected the other card. Toy Vendor is going to activate. Let us search for a Fluffal. I'm going to add a dog. We're going to use our normal summon here. Dog is going to let us add a Fluffal to our hand. We're going to search for Fluffal Cat. Now, we can't use Frightfur Fusion, fortunately. Misplayed there because we have Fusion instead of Polymerization. But we do have our defensive trap here. So we'll see how this goes. He uses Fusion. I think that's what it's called. MST popping our defense. He's playing Frightfur too. I should have expected it in the duel. We got a mirror match. See his deck of Fluffals versus mine. We saw this card's in my side deck. It gains 500 attack during the battle stage. We don't need Suture Rebirth right now at this moment, so we're gonna really have a... Dude, the Frightfur Fusion card's so misleading. Okay, that activates. Now we can fusion because it's on our field. Let's go for Kraken. Kraken's my favorite. I think it's the best one. Now we can just attack here. We're gonna not pop it because we want to attack twice and we want to attack directly. We deal the 600, then we get our second attack, deal 2200. Main phase 2. Switching out of that will make our put thing in defense position. Now we need a good way to search out polymerization. They exceed summon into wind up Zen mains. This is a wind up deck too. Maybe you want to be playing this card in your deck, who knows? But I can cut this card right down, activate Kraken, and destroy it. Alright, I can send this card to my grave here for a toy vendor. I need a toy vendor. Not really. I'm just gonna summon him for his 1200 attack. Now Kraken can't attack, so there's no point in moving him out of defense position. End our turn. And by phase, summons up Edge Amp Sabers, which lets him search, or send a card on the top of his deck, special summon it out of his grave. He summons again, probably into another wind up. Yo, I should have just attacked last turn. I could have hit over that defense. Ah, man. If this card on the field would be destroyed, detach a material. Why didn't he activate his effect last turn? We're having a very tough time here getting a fusion. Guess we're gonna activate Fluffal Bear. We don't need him. Set a toy vendor. Toy vendor, we can discard Fluffal Wings in our hand. Look at that. Oh no! That is not what we wanted. We'll Suture Rebirth out of Fluffal Bear. I guess we go for game here. Turn it to attack. Hit in. Discards. Discards. Maybe we should have activated our ability first. Can't attack over now. In phase 2, switch Kraken into defense. And still activate his ability. Move it. And that ends our turn. If we would have left Bear in the grave, we could have activated Fluffal Wing. We messed up on the destroying of Zen mains there. Okay. We get a Fluffal Dog. We're gonna search for Fluffal Owl now. Next turn we can get a Poly. Or we activate Toy Vendor right now. Discard Cat. Summon Penguin. Which we use his effect to summon out Owl. That worked out beautifully. Now Owl activates. We get a polymerization out of the deck. We activate Poly. We go for Daredevil. Or not. We don't have any edge amps. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're kind of locked into fusioning right now. I kind of messed up that. We're just misplaying all over. Get Saber out. We're gonna activate Saber, bring back Kraken. So we didn't misplay, we just upgraded. I'm still kinda learning. Now, Sabertooth has given us a 400 attack boost onto our Kraken. We activate Kraken here. Should have went with the face down one. Kraken can still attack twice. Except now he can't attack directly. But we have enough monsters where it's over. Boom. Got some Zen mains here. Who else should we take on? Alright, duel number 2. We're taking on Dipper. Starts out with a Shining Angel. And we can straight away here fusion. I'm gonna send Fluffal Bear. Give us a toy vendor. I want this Frightfur March out of my hand. Oh, I'm not a fan of it. You're still in the video here. You might want to consider taking it out of your deck. Let's special summon that penguin. This is in turn going to give us another special summon, but we don't really need it. With Polly. Go Kraken. We're definitely going to send Fluffal Wing. Let's send Chain. Fluffal Wing has a graveyard effect. We can activate now. But Kraken also gets 2 attacks. Activate Chain here to search for a Patchwork. Patchwork's gonna be big. Activate Patchwork. Gives us an Edge Imp and a Poly. Grab Cotton Picker. I'm a bigger fan of Cotton Picker. Put him in the Pendulum. You might want to consider running 2 of this. I keep finding myself in situations. I can poly again with Sabers and Penguin. Yeah. We might have game here. We're gonna polymerization again for another Kraken. We're gonna send Penguin and Sabers. Didn't double check my math or anything here. We only need to do 500 damage, if my math is right, to the Shining Angel. Oh, Shining Angel's gonna come back, isn't he? Draw 2, discard 1. Alright. Definitely gonna activate Cotton Picker. That's a free card. So we're drawing 3 here, discarding 1. Then Fluffal Wing. We get another Poly. Yeah, I need to act. I messed up already. Shouldn't have activated his effect. It's not game. Oh, we just compulsed. Oh my goodness. We can't attack directly now that we activated that effect. Hate to see it. If I didn't activate that effect, we would have been able... It would have been a lot harder, but we would have had 5,000 with 1 Kraken that got compulsed. He just honests over this one. Oh my gosh. Seizes into Constellar Raspberry. Reading that game. Attention attack. Gains 1,000 attack. How that well works out when you only have 800 defense. Thank you for summoning somebody out. We are going to Mirror Force you. That's 1. Hopefully it's not another, We're gonna Foolish Burial to send a Toy Vendor. Toy Vendor's gonna let us search. Or an Edge Imp Saber. Now we get the polymerization. We're going right back into Kraken. Fortunately, I think that's all 3 of our polymerizations already. See how we survive here. Need to draw our... We're going to activate Fluffal Penguin. We're going to activate Cotton Picker again. I'm going to discard Quaking Mirror Force. We're going to activate Suture Rebirth. We're going to bring back Kraken. Oh man. Is effect negated? Okay. We can attack once. You can't attack twice. We're just gonna go in the battle. Hit over that Exceeds monster. Destroy this. We also get another attack. Activate Kraken. Meant this Kraken. I knew that one would get negated. Figured it wouldn't even pop up, but it did. Turns out Constellar Cows. Something. Okay, he doesn't really have an effect, but he just exceeds into Ptolemy M7. He's gonna hit over our Kraken with no effects. Let's read Ptolemy. Ooh, that's a really good effect. Why didn't you send this card back to my hand? And we drew the mother load right here. Then that. Grab a poly back from our grave while we still can. Nope. Know if it's gonna get negated or something. Destroy Ptolemy. Oh, I didn't even switch him into attack mode. What am I doing? We're just giving him chances to exceed. Ah, we could have prevented this. He had a terrible draw. Shining Angel. He goes into Omega. Can't hit over me there. See, did Ptolemy again. Please don't activate Ptolemy's effect. He didn't. Okay, Fluffal Owl. Doesn't really help. Activate Kraken's effect. Goodbye. Can't attack this turn. We're destroying everything. But we're not putting any dent in that damage. We're gonna summon Fluffal Owl just for the damage. It's 1,000? No way! No way that just happened. Oh my goodness. What a draw. We can fusion now. Who do we want to go into? Daredevil? Cards destroy battle. Brave. Comes back. I really want to go into Daredevil? I'm going to try out Sheep. We're going to see how it goes. If he gets destroyed, he's going to come back with 2,800 instead of 2,000. I've never used Sheep. Gonna see how this goes here. Get the 300 attack boost from Cotton Picker. Both these cards. Cat lets me get fusion out of my grave. Edge Imp Chain's gonna let me search out an Edge Imp card. Or not. We're gonna go Frightfur Fusion, which lets me use my grave. Buffalo Cat gets me that poly. Cotton Picker lets me draw an additional card. And we're gonna activate Frightfur Fusion. We're gonna go for game. Grab Daredevil. Make sure we use cards that are in our graveyard here. Not in my hand. Or I can't even use my hand. Never mind. Here comes Daredevil. This should be game. 3,300. 2,200. We just barely got it. That one was... I thought we were going to lose that for sure. But that's going to be our Frightfur deck showcase. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'd recommend taking out March. I'd add in another Cotton Picker. And another Suture Rebirth. Because that came in clutch. But you guys do what you want to. This is just like a rough guideline. Not even a guideline. Just what I'm playing. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys. Who knows what next. See ya.